Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Money with Friends. Every Wednesday, we come to you. We come to your home, your car, your wherever you at. We just thank you for tuning in. We always get excited because Let's Talk Money with Friends is a great forum. You know, we always have great friends to join us. And this month, of course, we've been talking about women in business because it's been Women's History Month all month, throughout the month of March. And we're going to continue to have this conversation. But tonight, our subtopic is empowerment, economic empowerment. Why is it important for women to be empowered economically? And why does it matter? So without further ado, I have three great friends with me. I want to give them an opportunity to do a quick introduction, and then we can dive into our questions. Our first friend I'm gonna ask to say hello is our new friend, Fabiola. Why don't you say hello first?
Hi, my name is Fabiola. A lot of people call me Fabi. I am a Boston native, but I currently live in Providence, Rhode Island. I have a business in Providence, Rhode Island.
I know we met this a couple of weeks ago. Was it a couple at the gala? Love Life Now Foundation gala, and you were so excited. We had such a great fun, and then you can definitely share a little bit more about, as we speak here, how like you have such great things that you're doing with nonprofit organizations that will be so important to share with the audience. Okay, well, why don't we go with Lisa? Lisa, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I am Lisa Worthy. I am the owner of the Social Media Influence Agency. I help small businesses maximize their social media presence. And Gabrielle is a really close friend of mine. I've known her for many years.
Yes. And Miss Pepperty?
Hi, my name is Papitu Robert. I'm a naturopath and I help people heal themselves naturally using natural remedies.
Exactly. Yes. We love to have this conversation and being here on a Wednesday because we know that the information that we're sharing, we always say it's relevant and timely. And tonight we said that, women empowerment, when we think about women empowerment, we think about business ownership as well as financial literacy and financial freedom. So why don't we start with the idea that, I was reading, there's a study that was done with the National Association of Women Business Owners, right? They said like over 12 million businesses are owned by women in the United States. So it's 12.3 million businesses, right, owned by women. And that's like a huge increase compared to in 1972. There were only about 402,000. From 402,000 to over 12 million. So why do you guys think so many women are going into business for themselves? And what are some of the reasons you believe, Fabiola?
I think the pandemic has opened a lot of people's eyes. And I think COVID have opened a lot of people's eye to that. Like life is short. Why not do what you want to do with your life instead of working a 9-to-5? So I think that's one of it. And the second thing is, I think with all the restrictions and all the government mandate, I think women have realized how much no control they have over their life. And also daycare. The daycare is closing down, opening up, closing down, kids going to school, kids not going to school. I think it just made people realize if there's any time to start a business, why not now? So I can take back some of my control. So I think that's why.
Yeah, taking back control. What do you think, Lisa, in terms of like taking back control? Because I think, in my opinion, one of the reasons is because women don't get the same opportunities in the workplace as men. Do you believe that to be the truth? To be one of the reasons as well, Lisa?
Yes, that's definitely one of the reasons. I mean, still to this day, there still is a wage gap between men and women doing the same job with sometimes equal or even more credentials for the same role. So for that, getting an assessment, now we have access to more information, and sometimes people spill the beans on what they're making. So once you start to find that out, and then you take a look at what you're doing, if it's something that you can do on your own, people say, why not? I'll try it. And some people go part-time with their business until it starts to generate enough revenue, and they just kind of pull the Band-Aid and just go roll with their business and really have started to see themselves thrive. I think another reason with that is empowerment, to have control over your own money and your own finances. Things have changed, and you just want to be able to know that I do have my own income coming in. Most people are in a 2-income household. You can't really live on the 1-income household like it was back in the 1960s or even before that. So now women have to also work and manage the home. So why not start a business that you can do at home?
Yeah, definitely. And before we went online, we were talking about how we've always said on this show that your health is your wealth. And that, in my opinion, would you agree, Perpetuity, that, like the time freedom that you can get so that you can invest in your health? Would you agree? Like one of the reasons why women are starting their own businesses so that they don't have to, go to a job or having the restriction of time, the time restrictions that you do get when you are an employee or working for somebody else.
Yeah, definitely, Gabriel is one of the reasons. And what I think also is there is a part, I mean, I don't know for anyone, but for myself, as a creator, I like to create, I like to innovate, and having my own business give me the opportunity to create, to innovate, to use my women's side of creativity, you understand? And at the same time, it's healing. I don't know if anybody ever think about that. When you create and you're using your gift and you're using your talent, your passion, you are healing yourself.
Wow.
Because when you don't do that, you're bearing the gift that the creator gives to you. And women, remember that we are there, we give life, right? And it's not only when you have a human being that you give life. Just by the fact, for example, I love hair, right? And you know that I love anything pertaining with skin, with herbs. So being able to create my butter, using all the herbs that I know that is good and put it in its salad is not only for me, it's for everyone. And it's healing because it's making me happy. And remember that anything that makes you happy, you have the hormone of joy in your body. And that hormone of joy, lesser inflammation in the body and in the brain. The more unhappy you're the more inflammation that you have, the more stress you have, the more anxious you are. And the more happy you are, it's less in those hormones. And being in the kitchen and creating my butters and creating my oils and creating other things, even if the book, it's healing to me. It's making me happy. It's making me that I am bringing my part to humanity.
Yeah. Definitely you bought your part to humanity, because I know I bought your butter and it's been so great for me. Every time I lather myself, I feel so awesome, because I think, and also the women are in business for themselves, because other women, we do like to do business with other women. And I know for me, I'm always looking for women-owned businesses to do business with. If I'm looking for anything, I'll say, okay, let me find out who's doing it. And if I see a woman doing it, I want to support, because I know how difficult it is. Why? Because we don't generate as much money. The same study that was done said that, in the United States, women-owned businesses generate about $1.8 trillion a year. $1.8 trillion a year. However, it only represents less than about 3.4% of the private sector total revenue. So although we are generating $1.8 trillion a year in business as women, right? But only a small percentage of the private sector. That's so, and there's like more women than men. So we're not really taking part. We're not really impacting the economy as much, and we're not really getting the economic empowerment that we need. So why do you think it's important for women to become economically empowered? Why is it important for us to become economically empowered, Fabiola?
So I think it's important in so many different ways, because I hate to admit it, the world is about money. And the more it is what it is, the more money you have, sometimes the more controlling power you may have. Yes, you have a voice, all that is good, but the reality of things is, if you have women generating half of the economy, you can't say no to the half of the economy, because if they stand up as a group, there goes your economy. So I think that's why it's important for women to get in business, follow their dreams, do the work, and get more power that way. Because politicians, when you talk to politicians, they go where the controlling, they go and they promise whoever has the most control of the world, they go talk to them first, and then if they need extra vote, then they go to the after. So I think that's one of the main reason why women should go into business. And I think the also other reason is the sense of freedom you get from owning your own business is priceless. And even if you are married, you have that second income. That does not take you away from being an individual. That doesn't take you away from being a whole separate person than your significant other or partner. And because of that, I feel like when you are strong apart, you come together and you become stronger, not weaker. So
correct. I think that economic empowerment is important, like you said, as a single person or married person, because of the fact that Lisa, I know you're married, but there are a lot of single women out there. If you don't have that, dollar, you're gonna be in trouble. And also to people who get divorced and widowed, right? You become a widow. So why do you think, what are some of the other reasons you believe that women should be economically empowered?
I think it gives you a sense of your purpose and individuality, like you were saying. So whether you are married or not, and that's like my biggest thing, is for me to feel like I'm a contributor to not only my own happiness, and then if the partner, is also doing that, it kind of just makes it that much better. And also another thing is, like, I think when you do it, it gives you a sense of purpose. You're happy, you're fulfilled. It's something that you're passionate about. You're, like Perpetu said, the creativity you're able to experience, but more importantly, the financial freedom. Like, that's another thing I would say was one of the driving factors for me, is having that financial freedom. No one can, tell you what you can or cannot do. You can take time off to do your self-care and pamper yourself. And there's nothing like it. I think that's one of the little underlying messages that people are showing you, is that what kind of individual independence you can have. When you're in a 9-to-5, you're an employee of someone, they can let you go. You can have given them everything, which I've done before, and you're not valued. And that's a sense of that could really lower your self-esteem, lower where you think you are in life. And another thing that I want to touch upon about us not making enough of the market share also comes to maybe some of our experiences where we don't charge as much as we should for the services that we provide. And that's where, taking that research to see where you are in the market and making sure that you're pricing yourself accordingly, because your service that you're giving your all to you deserve to be paid for it. And then if the women businesses in their community come together, they can also change local politics And then that will change the larger politics like Fabiola was talking about, because now they're not just looking for the guys who own real estate, but you have women in real estate who's starting to own properties and doing certain things, or there's other businesses who now have a voice because people know them in the town. So those are some of the reasons why.
Yeah, I like that. And also going back to something that you're not as valuable for workplace, we are dispensable when it comes to an employer. Any given day, you can get the pink slip saying like, I'm sorry, we are downsizing, we are re-engineering, they call it anything, right? And then you are let go basically. But going back to, with Perpetuity, because her focus is healthcare and mental care, mental health and all that. I know Perpetuity, sometimes people stay in relationships. A couple of weeks ago, we had Laverne Garden, and she's had experience with domestic violence, and she's working very hard to support women who are going through that with Love Life Now Foundation. Do you think like some of the reason why we should be economically empowered because we don't want to keep ourselves in situations that are abusive, Perpetuity?
Yes.
For mental health.
I was gonna say that because when we look at the statistics, usually first men usually die before than the women. So being single make me the women worried. If the men die before, they get in poverty, and in the past women usually stay at home. And I was a stay at home for like 14 years now. I'm still at home working, but I know what is it. So we are scared if the man passed away. So you get poor. There was nothing left for you, right? There was one. And then, like you said, staying in an abusive marriage, because all the even Gabriel in Haiti, where we came from, a lot of the men they are the provider, right? Usually, and the woman will stay with the man just because he is the provider. And sometimes men will have several men in their life because the men are the one that provide. And we don't, in 2022, we don't want women to stay, in the same situation, kind of prostitution. Can we say that like that? I don't know.
Right.
Well, but be able to really depend on men for themselves, and that's bring down your self-confidence. Right? You're not confident in yourself. You stay in the marriage just because they are the one providing. Not that I agree that the marriage will be, people will get divorced for any kind of reason. Sometimes there is a way that you can arrange that you make it better, but you're not staying just because of the money, but you're staying because you wanted to make it out. That is something else. That is really mentally gonna be a different, because when you feel when you feel forced of doing things that you're not doing, you are bearing down your emotions. It's gonna have an impact in your mental life. And especially, we already know that we as women, we go through so many emotional cycles with our period, and hormones. So it's gonna be really hard in the body in terms of health wise.
Yeah, I think it's so important that we understand that. And going back to something that you said earlier, Perpetuity, when I was born in Haiti, and when I looked around and I saw so many women putting themselves in harm's way, like really in really bad abusive relationships because they didn't have the economic empowerment. As a little girl, I said to myself, I'll never let that happen to me. I will always be empowered economically, so that if I'm in a situation that's not working out after you've done all you can pick up and go and not feel like, oh my gosh, where am I going to stay? Am I going to be homeless? I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. So it's very important. That's why for Women's History Month, it's not good enough to just say Happy Women's History Month and let people know to be happy. You got to give them tools and encouragement. And that's why last week we said level up. So the same study by Women's Business Enterprise National Council mentioned that 40%, so for every 10 businesses for every 10 business, 4 of them are women-owned businesses. So 40% of every business of US businesses are owned by women, 40%. Well, we just talked about the fact that we only generating less than 5% of the private sector annual revenue. So why do you think women, although we are going in business, we still, as many are still very timid about going forward, leveling up, like we said last week, and to start their own businesses? Because 40% is okay, but we can still be 60%, 70%, because there are a lot more of us than there are men. Yeah. So why do you think it's so hard for women to level up? Go ahead.
I think family responsibility is a huge one. It's a huge one. When I look at myself, okay, coming here and I immigrated 20 years ago. I mean, I studied food processing, I studied chemistry, and when I came here, I was kind of scared, wearing kids in a new culture that you did not know, and especially as a Black woman, and when you look at around Black men in prison and everything, and you are scared. I was scared. So I chose in a certain way to mostly stay home, try to accommodate. I'm looking for a job, but I'm looking for a job that's gonna give me time to be with my children. Okay.
Mhm.
And I was at a point, I think I have almost 13 years at home now, 13, 14 years at home. You see, because I wanted to stay home kind of for the children. So it's a major responsibility. And when I was looking also marriages here, and there was a lot of divorce. In Haiti, the divorce rate was not high, but here it's high, okay? And I told myself, when I see as women, I used to wake up early in the morning, 6 o'clock. I have to take the bus at 6:45 with my 2 kids, take the train, drop them to the daycare, and then going to work myself and going back. And I get home, it was 7:30 p.m. every day. And I told myself, I don't think I'm able to do that, for a long period of time. One, because I'm stressed. My husband is stressed. And when 2 stressed people get together, it doesn't work. There's a lot of chance that they will, and especially when we moved here, we are used in Haiti to have man-made as people helping us, and we didn't have anyone. And when they told you a law of attraction. My goodness, I got a car accident right after I finished my nursing school. And then one day I was sitting down and like, my goodness, I finished school, I wanted to work, and I get an accident. And you know what came to my mind? That was your dreams to stay home. You were worried about going to work and have children. Now you have what you asked. I did not ask it directly, but I think the thoughts, the fear, bring that to me. You understand what I mean? I don't know if you guys understand how
I hear you.
The law of attraction come in. My answer come back in a way that I did not expect. That's not what I had asked, but it come anyway. Be able to be there for the children.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, definitely. You gotta know what you want. We talked about that last week. Fabiola, you are in business. Tell us a little bit about your business and why did you feel like, as a young woman, that you could go ahead and assert yourself and do something that most women are afraid to do?
So I've been in real estate for the past 8 years. And I got my broker's license about 4 years ago. But when I got my broker's license, with an intention to just teach real estate. And then about 2 years ago, I got married. And my husband said to me, you have your broker's license. You have all the qualification you need to have your own brokerage. Why don't you have your own brokerage? And I didn't have an answer. I didn't have an answer that didn't sound like an excuse. So that's when I started my own brokerage. And to like take it back to the question that you asked, Gabrielle, but now as a business owner, like, okay, I was doing real estate before I met him, right? But now it's even harder because now I have like this not false expectation. I have this expectation in the back of my head as a wife, I'm supposed to do this and this and that. And I think women get wrapped up in that, whatever that expectation is in marriage, that you have to do everything. You have to be the one cooking, you have to be the one doing this, doing that, and running a business. So I think a lot of women own businesses, but they own it part-time because of that exact reason. So that's what I'm learning, and I'm still learning now. It's like you have to learn to delegate. You have to learn to communicate that I'm not the end all be all, and I'm not going to be doing everything because I have my own business that I have to run. And I have a team of 9 agents. So it's not, I can't just drop everything and like, so it's a balancing act. And I think it's difficult for women, especially when you grow up with the expectation of what a wife should be doing, to part ways with that, to be a full-time business owner, even though that's what you want to do.
Yeah. It takes a lot of confidence, and also part of the reasons why, I think one of the reasons is that we don't get the funding that there were the same study, I was reading it. It says that on average, women are asking for less when it's time to start a business or when it's time to expand your business. They say the average loan for men is about $43,916, but for women is about $38,000. Why do you think, Lisa? You kind of mentioned that earlier in terms of like, why are we so afraid to ask for what we want, even when we have all qualifications?
You know, I think that there's a variety of things. Traditionally, probably what you saw your mother do. Traditionally, where you thought the woman's place was, where from TV, how you see certain things. But a lot of that, you know, is changing now, where we're starting to do a little bit more research. We're starting to do more. And to piggyback on what Fabiola said, people are starting to realize, you know what, I want to do my business full time. So I am going to hire a cleaning service that's going to come and clean my house twice a week. You know what, 3 times a week, we're going to get Uber Eats, Seamless, Grubhub. That's what we're going to eat tonight. We're going to order in a pizza. You know, gone are the days where people actually have the time to make a cooked meal. Don't get me wrong. You know, you want to try to have a balance with that, but you have to have some flexibility and communicate that, whether it's with people that your loved ones that you're supporting, or if you're in a relationship, and for us to start to get used to that. But even coming to think about the salary, we take whatever that first salary is that they offer us. We don't counter offer. We're scared to ask for the max, even though we know what it is. And so we have to try to be more vocal. And sometimes we almost have to list it out, what exactly our credentials are. I mean, look at, you know, the Supreme Court judge process for her, who has more credentials than anybody who's ever been on the Supreme Court. And she has to go through this rigorous process. So it's something that we have to prepare ourselves for, because unfortunately society is still starting to wrap their heads around. And believe it or not, sometimes even from women themselves, who are maybe, you know, kind of projecting their own fears onto other people and want to keep you small instead of growing. So you have to think about, you know, the impact that you're making by asking. You're making way for the other generations after you. It might not work the first time, but if you ask, people will start to see it, and then the culture will change as well. So it just takes the culture to shift a little bit for us to see those changes.
I had someone said a long time ago, you gotta be uncomfortable. If what you're asking for is not making you uncomfortable, you're not asking for enough. Because I watched the Breakfast Club. It's like the show online, and this young lady, actually, she played the mother of Serena and Venus in the movie King Richard, and her name is Anjanu Ellis, I think her name is. She played, and was so anyways, what she was saying is that after she did the movie, you know, all the accolades, I mean, this movie, I really loved it. And I talked even about it online. I did a live about it. But one of the things that we don't think about is the fact that there she was playing the mother, matriarch of the family, but she did not get paid the money that she would have wanted. But she did something about it though. She wrote a letter to Will Smith and explained that she really had a great time. She loved the experience, but she didn't feel like she got paid enough. And he actually was kind enough to do something about it. So even in Hollywood or anywhere you go, like whether you are like working at as a secretary anywhere, you have to stand up for yourself. You gotta do it in a gentle way because we've heard of other actresses who did it the wrong way and they kind of lost their opportunity to pursue their dreams. The dream of pursuing a career in the arts. But if you don't stand up for yourself, who's gonna stand up for you? Because the same study that I've read said that 62% of women saying that, listen, my business is my primary income. And for a lot of families, they're single family, women who are single mothers, their income, whether it is a business income or a job or like someone who's an actress like this, listen, so 62% of what they make is all they have. They don't have a spouse supporting them. So do you think women are not trying to get the wages that they want in terms of like the business, some of the inequalities that exist in business? Do you think that it's so important for women to keep on fighting and not be afraid to ask for what they want, especially in business? Fabiola, you have a real estate agent and people come in and say, I want to do business with you, but I don't want to pay that point. I don't want to pay that much point, that many points, but the same person will go to another business and say, yes. How do you struggle? How do you combat somewhat, like these clients who are not willing to pay you what you're worth?
So I think, and this goes for me too, I didn't learn how to negotiate until I was in my 30s. Like, we're not taught to negotiate. Like, even a salary, a lot of people, they get offered a salary. If it's more the money than their last job that they were at, they just take it. And I didn't even realize you could negotiate until I was like 28. So I think part of the problem is that we just take whatever is offered. And even in real estate, I see that. And, like I would go into a home and I say, we charge this. Some people will automatically say, okay. And some people are so uncomfortable with negotiating, they will say, okay, and just move on to the next person. Instead of saying, will you take this? Or they go and research. And then after like the third or fourth person, they realize, everybody's saying, but when all it is a conversation. So I think when it comes to women is we never really were taught to negotiate, and depending on your family background and how you were brought up and raised, it's especially in cultures where you're coming from a foreign country to a new country. Maybe your English is not as good, but you automatically have all these self-doubt that you place in your head that limits you from negotiating. So what I always tell people, negotiate. The worst they can say is no, and no, what is no gonna do to you? Nothing. Like, your feelings might get hurt for like 1 or 2 days, but it goes away. But at least don't say no to yourself. Let that person say no to you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Were you gonna say something, Lisa? In terms of just want to say something in terms of like having multiple streams of income, so that you don't have to be dependent on one thing. So that's one of the topics that we actually talked about, because much of the fear comes from the fact that that's all you have and that's all you're depending on. Again, 62% of the women are saying that's all I have, and so that creates fear. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, a lot of people stay in a job because that they're living paycheck to paycheck, and they need it, even though it's stressing them out and they should be getting paid more. They don't know how to ask. They're afraid if they ask, they might be let go. So there's a variety of reasons for that. I think also too, coming up to the culture piece, even thinking about selling yourself. Culturally, you bragging about what you've done or your accomplishments is frowned upon, when in this culture, if you don't do it, you eat less. So
Right.
it's something to kind of try to get used to. It's a culture shock in a way. Even if you're first generation born, it's something that you've seen and then it kind of passes on to you. So until you're like, oh, okay, you've been burned a couple times, but and you're watching the lay of the land, then you pick up on a few things and you start to try, or at least you try to put yourself out there. And then after a while it becomes a little bit more comfortable. But initially, culturally too, it's different from other cultures where promoting yourself is celebrated here. Abroad, not so much, especially as a woman.
I know. Yeah. The study also mentioned that 64% of the businesses that are being, the new businesses that are coming up, of new businesses, 64% of them are started up by Black women. So Black women, people who look like us, right? But again, we don't make as much. And that really, for me, that brings a lot of stress, and also the anger, the rage that comes with it, because you feel like you're competent, you have what it takes, you have, just like you said, more, if as much or even more credentials as everybody else. And yet, when it's time for you to assert yourself and say, you know what, I want to get paid the same, you're being told that, come on, you don't deserve it. Because I mean, the average income for women, 70 cents on every dollar. So whatever men make, we get 70% of that, right? But Black women even get even less. So what are some of the ways that we can combat that in terms of like health, mental health? Because as I said, you go to a job, you have more credential, and then you're seeing somebody who doesn't have even a high school diploma getting promoted to become your boss. It gets very frustrating. How do you, or someone who doesn't have the credentials that you have, or the college degree, like you say, going back again to being able to say, yes, I've done that. I've gone to college. I've gone to grad school. I've had years of managerial experience. I've owned a business. I've done this. And then when you try to assert yourself and say, this is what I've done, they say, why are you showing off? Why are you telling everybody who you think you are? Meanwhile, the very same people are telling you why you're showing off. They don't have what you have, but yet they're not afraid to go and ask for the promotion to be your own boss, to be your boss. So how do you deal with that, Perpetuity, in terms of your mental health?
I was just thinking about that though, when I was just seeing myself too in that position, because I live that, and it's something that might be, that is hard, that can affect you really physically and emotionally. In that case, well, what can I say? To express yourself. Because this is one thing that I learned. When you don't speak, you don't do yourself a favor. Because that emotion going to somewhere, some part in your physical body, as pain, as illness. So you have to find a way to speak up and talk. And I remember that I was a kind of a situation like that. I was working in the field, and because of my religious belief in not drinking alcohol, and they called me, I have the choice whether go over what I believe or to just stay the boss. I can't do that. And thank goodness I was not fearing. I share my belief and I say, I'm not gonna do it. And he agreed to keep me. That was a win for me. But we have to have the courage to speak up and to say that is not right. And
well, I'm thinking not every environment gives you that opportunity to speak up. Some environments that you are in, you're like, okay, there's no room for growth here. You can stay as long as you need to stay so that you can manage yourself out slowly but surely. But sometimes it's not gonna work. So again, today we wanted to have this conversation because it's a sober conversation, because as women, we know how it feels to not, as women, we know how it feels not to be able to be empowered economically. And some of our empowerment are limited by the fact that we get paid less, we get treated worse, especially Black and brown women. And also too, we also ourselves have censored ourselves and not be willing to speak up and ask for what we want, because again, we don't want to sound like we're showing off, like we know a lot, or we don't want to, we're afraid to assert ourselves because culturally and you name it. So for us here, ladies, can you share our last question for tonight? What does financial freedom mean to you? And what does it look like for you? Financial freedom, economic empowerment.
I think being able to give to others, because, as Haitian, we have so many people that we want to help back in Haiti, and I stay home for a few years and not being able to give back to the ones that participate to help, especially my mom was a single mom. For me, having a financial freedom, that's all I dream, to get back to the one that participated in my education.
Yeah, definitely. Paying it forward. What about you, Fabiola? What does that mean for you?
For me, financial freedom means freedom of time. That's one of the reasons why I started my own business. I always hated someone telling me when to come in, when to take a break, when to take a lunch. And I used to just always be like, this is really not for me. And I remember, like, what I say to women, always have an extra strategy. You become unhappy at a job, start planning your exit strategy. Okay, do not just sit in your unhappiness. And so for me, financial freedom means freedom of time. And I'll even share, like, before I went into real estate full time, I saved up for 3 months. And my financial advisor told me to save up for 6 months, but I saved up for 3 months. And when I quit my job, it was the most, like, I felt so free. Yes, I was concerned about money, but at a point in time, at a point in time in your life, you have to really think about what's valuable to you, and how do you protect that, and for me, it's freedom of time, freedom for me to be like, you know what, today I'm not doing absolutely nothing, and I don't care if you judge me because I'm not doing nothing. So for me, it's freedom of time.
But we do work hard. When you're a business owner, you work hard, but you get to play hard as well.
Exactly.
What about you? What about you, Lisa?
Yeah, it feels like you're rewarding yourself. And, I'm still working on my exit strategy for myself, but definitely the financial freedom means to me that a job can say, I don't want you anymore. And I say, oh, okay, that doesn't faze me. Or, just I have the freedom to do what I want to do and when I want to do it. And then the third part would be when you're working for yourself, even though technically you really do work 7 days a week around the clock, your mind will think about things that you need to do for your business, but there's something rewarding about it. If you're feeding yourself, it's like you're giving yourself food, because anything that you put your effort into, you get a result. And if it doesn't work out the way you wanted it to, it's a lesson learned, so that now you have another idea or another strategy that you can try. So for me, financial freedom is a level of creativity, a peace within yourself, creating a day that you want to have. However you can work in the morning, work in the night, however you choose to work. Some people might be night owls, some people might work in the morning. So you're kind of walking to the beat of your own drum in a way that brings you joy and peace and happiness all at the same time, which leads to also financial success. Because I feel like that happens for anyone who gives their all into their business.
It's so true. Last week I mentioned that your success depends on you. So it's very important that we cultivate and do the work that we need to do to have our own, our own success. For me, financial freedom looks like home ownership. That's why when I was in my early 30s, I purchased a home. I wanted to purchase a home so that I would not have the worries of having to move around, because I like to build community. I'm a community person. I like to know my neighbors to the right, to the left, across the street, next door, down the street from me. I like to know who they are. So I had prayed about where I wanted to stay. I do like church, so I wanted to not be too far away from church. So I decided to build community where I am today. And financial freedom to me means like being empowered with the right knowledge so that I can fight for what I have and fight for my own, and not let anybody come in and say, oh, you don't deserve this. You know, knowledge is power. So I feel I'm very empowered because I'm financially literate, and also too because I have the education to stand up for myself. So I do like leisure time. Financial freedom is leisure time too for me. Being able to travel, pay your bills, and being able to travel. So women, if you are watching here and you have kids who are women, who are girls, it's so important to know that women can be empowered with the flexibility and the economic empowerment that they need, so that not only they can achieve their own goals, but also combat some of the wage inequalities that we deal with. You know, we don't get paid as much at the workplace, and we don't get paid as much even with our own businesses. We don't have to be timid. We can go ahead and fight for what we want. And also we can just do it. Just do it. If you're a woman and you're thinking about going in business, find a community. Last week we talked about that. Find a community of women who can help support you. So I was elated when I went to that party the other day to Laverne. I met Fabiola and I said to her, we need to connect because you're a woman-owned business. And I am in business, and I'm someone who's always been excited when I meet women like Perpetu and Lisa and Fabiola. So thank you so much for watching tonight. We will encourage you to share, tag, and make a comment. And if you're a woman and you're thinking about leveling up, you want to level up, this month is Women History Month. You definitely want to watch all the different programs that we've done, the different shows that we've done so far. And next week, we have one last week, I believe, to talk about women in business. So thank you so much for watching. Share, like, and make a comment. And yeah, stay tuned for next week for another great episode of Let's Talk Money with Friends. Knowledge is power. Go and empower yourself. And also, economic empower is the key to true financial freedom. Thank you so much for your time.